Okay, so it's about time to get started. Let me turn this light off so you can see better. Okay, so welcome to Math 216. Y'all have, I hope, been getting my emails and hopefully watched those first three pre-lectures. There will be a short quiz on that at the end of today's talk. But a bunch of stuff we have to go through first. Most of this is logistical. Almost all of this is logistical, but I think this is all important stuff. First of all, if there are any math majors or minors in the crowd, come talk to me as soon as possible. Ideally after class today would be super. Okay. All right. So the class website, now I sent you all this in one of the emails that I sent, but this is where you'll find all my class web pages, only one of which is relevant for y'all, of course. So when you click on that, that takes you to, click right here where it says Math 216, and here is the class website for this semester. Okay. So several things that I want to make sure y'all read. Perhaps you've already done this. If you have, super. But all of the main page. So now that's actually become quite a bit of stuff. There's links to various important things up here at the top. Some discussions here, should you take this course, etc. Then there's a section called Recommendations on Schedule. There's actually two parts to that. There's a flipped portion of the course. There's a traditional portion of the course. That way you use your time is a little different between those. And then now here's a relatively new section, which is advice on how to do well in the course. There have been comments to this effect sort of sprinkled around the web pages in the past, but here I've put together a bunch of comments. All of this stuff here is stuff that I used to talk about excuse me, on the first day of class in this introductory spiel. And the thing is that the number of things that I want to talk about along those lines has grown. It, grows a little bit each semester. Thoughts occur to me, hey, I should mention such and such. And it's gotten to the point now where it's just way too long. And I'm hoping to be able to cut down the introductory spiel now to, maybe just most of the first day of class instead of all of the first day of class. So anyway, all of this stuff is really, really important. Make sure that you read it and take all of this, very seriously, very literally. Okay. Let me point to one thing, though. Notice I have as your first resource yourself. It's a little cheesy, I know. But the idea here, the very important point is you're in charge of your learning, right? So I'm not going to chase you around and make sure that you're doing as well as you should on the homework. And, there's only so much that I can do in terms of giving you feedback on how well you're learning the material, right? We only have 3 midterm exams. Right? So be aggressive in thinking about how well you're learning the material. Are you doing what you should be doing? And finding resources to fill in for things that maybe aren't going the way they should. Okay. Okie dokie. Make sure to read the rest of this stuff. Expectations, another thing I used to spend a bunch of time talking about, and that now I'm going to leave to y'all to read, mostly. But hopefully there's no surprise here that memorizing and executing PAT algorithms is step 1. Right, in this class. This is not a mere memorize and regurgitate sort of class. A lot of high school classes are. Mine were. But more than that, we expect you to actually understand ideas. And furthermore, to be able to take that understanding and use that, possibly adapted appropriately to the situation, to be able to solve unfamiliar applications. Right, so that's a high bar. That's a lot of expectation, and I wanted to be very explicit about that up front. So what follows here are kind of the same thing said over and over again. So anyway, please, give this a read and give it some thought. Okay. Alrighty. Lastly, a quick thing about asking questions in class. This is brand new this semester. There are things to think about in terms of, if you have a question you're thinking about asking. Very often students get a little shy and maybe don't ask a question when maybe they should, right? On the other hand, sometimes students might be thinking, well, maybe instead of asking in class, maybe this is more of an office hours kind of a question, right? Or maybe this is a, let me, ask them right after class kind of question. So anyway, here are some comments and considerations as you contemplate, should I ask a question, right? A related consideration, of course, is the large class, right? And so that makes it all the harder to kind of work up the nerve to ask a question, and it also means that there's all that many more people who are thinking about asking questions, and so making good choices becomes really important. If it comes down to, I just don't know if I should ask this question in class or not, I'm going to encourage you, go ahead and ask the question. And just be prepared for the possibility that I might say, hey, that's a great question, let's talk about it in office hours, right? No harm, no foul, right? No problem. But it doesn't hurt to just throw it out there, see what happens. Okay. All right. So that's the web page. So make sure to read everything on that main page. There's also some links up at the top in the course information section. Let's go back to that. I want you to read all the content on those links. So these 5 links right here. Right. So general policies, various policies related to how the course operates. Duke Community Standard, how do I view that? Right? Attendance, what's the deal there? Et cetera, et cetera. So make sure to read all this stuff. Responsible for knowing all that. General comments is, again, it's one of these things that's grown over decades. More decades than I'd like to admit. So it's gotten to be pretty big, but all of these are things that I think you should be exposed to. Ideas that are relevant to this class that I think will be helpful. This page is just discussions about things related to graded items, right? How do grades work, which of course is very important. Then proofs. This is something that's possibly new-ish to a lot of y'all. There are going to be some proofs in this class. This is not a super proofy class like Math 221. 221's also linear algebra, right, as is this course. But 221, one of its primary purposes is to teach a lot of upcoming math majors, but to teach those students how to do proofs. So abstraction and rigor and proofs that's one of the main focuses of the course. Not so as much with Math 216, but it's just really hard to do linear algebra without doing a few proofs. It's very, very naturally wrapped up in the material. So we are going to be doing some proofs, and y'all heard me talk in one of the pre-lectures about deductive reasoning and what is a proof, what is a theorem, what is a definition, and all that business. Okay, so we're going to talk a lot about that kind of stuff in this class. So this little page here is just a discussion of some thoughts about what isn't a proof and what could be a proof and that sort of thing. And I'll bring your attention down to the very bottom link here. That I think is hilarious. This is a list of invalid proof techniques. And my favorite one, let's see here. This is one of my favorite. Proof by vigorous hand waving. Right? So that doesn't work. Right? But somewhere on here, proof by intimidation. Oh yeah. That is the one. Yeah, and I can see I clicked on it earlier. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Yeah. So you just scoffingly refer to, oh, this is trivial, right? And make your audience scared to ask why. Anyway, all these are wrong. All these are invalid, but it's pretty funny. Okay. Let's see here. Where are we? So again, this is your first day's reading assignment. If you haven't done it already, read all the main page and read all of those 5 pages up at the top. Oh, I think I missed one. Let's go back to the. Yeah, the grading system. Okay, so there's an explicit formula for how your grade in this course will be computed. We made a big change a couple of years ago. I made a big change a couple of years ago in my classes of how grades were done. We used to keep a pretty internal system where we would look at scores that students made on exams and really assign letter grades on midterm exams, really so much. But we'd look at the scores, and then at the end of the semester, we'd look at the final exam and see how this section compared to that section and kind of look at it from different points of view, and all those numbers together would come into interpreting a letter grade for every student. It was a very good system in a lot of ways. Very bad in the sense that it was not at all transparent and it was kind of cryptic, right? So that led to misinformation and mythology, false rumors being spread about a bunch of nonsense, stuff that was never true in the first place. Anyway, this newish system, I think is extremely understandable and it's extremely transparent. And I'm just going to walk you through it real quick. It's a real simple idea. On every graded item in this course, you will get a letter grade. For example, I don't know, maybe let's say B+, for example. That letter grade will be converted into a number on the 4-point scale by this table. For every grade, there is a corresponding 4-point grade. It's the usual thing, right? A is a 4, B is a 3, plus or minus with incidentals. Okay. There will be various graded items, all of which have the following weights. Right, so the first midterm exam is weighted 15%, etc. Attendance notice counts a little bit. It's only 3%, but it still counts a little bit. Okay. So at the end of the semester, you will have letter grades on all of these items. Excuse me, all of these items over here. We will then do a weighted average using these weights, and that weighted average will come up with some sort of a decimal number between 0 and 4.3. That will fall into one of these bins. Let's suppose that your average ends up being 3.528. Well, that falls into that bin, and so you would then get that letter grade. Right, so very, very simple. Right, it's literally averaging. Right, so hardly anything to it, we'll assign letter grades on various things as early as we can. Of course, midterm exams have to wait till we actually give those midterm exams. Obviously, the final exam doesn't come until the very end of the semester. Your quiz grade, I'll be able to tell you at about the halfway mark of the semester. The quizzes, what I call quizzes here, are just the quizzes that we do during the flipped portion of the course. Right? So that ends middle of week 8, if I remember correctly. So at that time, I'll look at all the quiz grades and I'll do the curve and everything, and that will determine 5% of your course grade. Okay, homework, of course, has to wait till the end of the semester. Attendance has to wait until the end of the semester. Okay, pause for questions. Anybody have any questions? I hope everybody feels like you understand how the grading will work in the class. Everybody's good? Okay. Right. Okay, so back to the first day thing here. Okay. And interpret all this stuff literally. There are some high school classes where they, talk very, importantly sounding about how we're going to set the bar so high, and then they don't necessarily, right? But Math 216, we definitely do. This is a challenging class. We set the bar high. We can, because the students in here are very strong, right? Anyway, so make sure to interpret all this stuff literally. By the way, also, there's a bunch of links on the web page. I want you to click around on the web page and just see what's there. You don't necessarily have to read every bit of every link from this page. I mean, eventually that reaches out to the entire internet, right? So, click around, see what's where, and familiarize yourself with what's there. Okay. Let's talk about some logistics stuff. So the syllabus. right here at the top of the web page, right there. Here it is. This shows which sections we're going to cover from the book, right, by title and by number, and then also which questions from the exercises are assigned as homework. So when, for example, section 1.6 is assigned, these are the questions from the book that are assigned. Okay. Let's see. You'll notice that some of the questions are labeled as AHP. That is just an abbreviation for additional homework problems. So when we finish section 1.2, you'll go to the additional homework problems document and find questions 10 and 11. That additional homework problems document is also linked on the page here, down about right here. So these are a bunch of homework exercises that I've written over the years, and there's a lot of them, but we'll get through these over the course of the semester. Okay. Right. By the way, I suppose I glossed over this too quickly. That's me. Notice my office hours listed 2:30 to 3 p.m. That's right after this class ends, by the way, so everybody's already here. How convenient. And I'll either be here in Physics 128, or if there's no one asking me questions, if everybody seems to, if there's no questions coming up, I'm just going to go back to my office, which is right across the hall and down a little bit to the right, room 123. So if you come into office hours on the later side, and if I'm not here, just find me in my office. Okay. Y'all will all attend discussion sections that will each be led by a TA. Here are the 6 different TAs, one of which will be for your discussion section. By the way, discussion sections do meet this week. Not skipping any scheduled periods. So you'll find here their web pages. They will put on their web pages their office hours. I guess they don't. No, here we go. Math 216 office hours. So he's got his office hours set right there. Okay. Likewise for all the other TAs, I'll point out that y'all are all invited to all of the TA's office hours, not just your own TA. So this gives you all a lot more flexibility, a lot more options for where to get help. So that gives you, in fact, 7 stretches of office hours that you can aim for, mine and 6 different TAs. Okay. How we doing? Any questions? Everybody good? Okay. All right. Okay, let's see here. The lecture schedule. Okay, big surprise, the lecture schedule. Also found on the website. Here we go, the lecture schedule right there. So this is going to show exactly what's going on almost exactly what's going to go on in each class throughout the semester. Here we are. Today is Wednesday, January 8th. We're doing Lecture 1. Lecture 1 does not complete any of the book sections, and so there's no sections done listed, and therefore no exercises that are part of that homework assignment. But do notice that on Monday, we will finish Lecture 3, which finishes Section 1.1. Those homework exercises are due on January 17th, which you'll notice is next Friday, not this Friday. Okay. The shading over here with the alternating dark gray, light gray, dark gray, etc. That's just grouping together lines that have the same homework due date. This is kind of for visual convenience. So this set includes only this one section. The next set, you'll notice, due on January 24th. Section 1.2 and Section 1.3. So you see the pattern. Okay. Excuse me. A similar use of colors for exam fair game material. Exam 1, you'll see, is colored in blue. These days of sections are the material that's fair game for that exam. Okay. Okay, any questions? How are we doing? Yes?
So is the homework due at discussion, you said, or during class?
Ideally you turn in homework in the discussion section, but I did ask the TAs to give everybody some sort of a flexibility. The idea there is, if you come to the discussion section, you're going to have questions about the homework. it would be weird to let you ask questions and then force you to turn it in immediately, right? So the idea is hopefully they'll give you some time like 3 p.m. Friday or something like that, and that you can turn it in either in discussion section or to their office by whatever time, Friday 4 p.m. whatever it is. So I listed the due dates as Fridays in reference to the extensions that I expect and assume that they'll. Anybody else? Great question. Thank you. Okay. Note the exams are all scheduled. The holidays are scheduled. So there's exam 1. There's exam 2. There's exam 3. There's the final exam. Note the color coding indicating the fair game material for all the midterms. The final exam, everything from the course, everything from all the midterms, and everything that we cover that's too late to include on any of the midterms, all of it is all fair game for the final exam. And I didn't know I couldn't figure out what would make sense to do. I've got orange here for the final exam, but wasn't clear how to show that color coding right, but I think it's clear. Okay. Alrighty. Oh, wait a second. So let's go back here. Okay, so looking at Friday's class, by the way. So Lecture 2. That's what we're doing on Friday's class. What is Lecture 2, and how do you prepare for Lecture 2? Well, you go over here to, again, back to the webpage. Right here, the recordings schedule. And this tells you what pre-lectures you're supposed to watch in preparation for that class and quiz, of course, and what pages of the lecture notes. So here we go. So Lecture 1, y'all watched these 3 pre-lectures, Intro A, B, and C. For Lecture 2, you'll watch those 2, 1.1a and 1.1b. The 1.1 refers to the fact that this is material from Chapter 1, Section 1. And the A and the B means I broke that section into 4 parts, A, B, C, D. You're watching just A and B. Okay, so I think that's pretty clear. This is just letting you know what those topics are. And then from my lecture notes, it starts on page 10, ends on page 16. So this tells you exactly what pages in the lecture notes, exactly what videos from the YouTube channel to watch and prep. Does that all make sense? Any questions? I'll draw your attention while we're here to the fact that these lines look like they kind of don't line up sometimes. What's going on there? Well, these lines here are breaking up and distinguishing individual sections of the book. So 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, etc. The way the sections break up just doesn't make for naturally sized, sort of equally sized chunks of material. So, for example, Lecture 7, you'll do the end of Section 1.5 and the beginning of Section 1.6. So does everybody see how that groups up? So in other words, don't follow the lines, you go straight across. So I hope that's clear. Okay. All right. In fact, let's see. Does this? Nah, that doesn't work. Okay. Anyway, so yeah. So 7 is those. 8 is those, etc. Okay. All right. Where are we now? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we've already done recording schedule. We've done homework problem. Oh, we've done the grading system. Well, we've done a lot of stuff on there. Okay. So lecture recordings. I have to say I do have technical difficulties sometimes. It just, sometimes my computer, it's not working. I don't know. Maybe I ran out of battery. Sometimes, the projectors die. Or the little HDMI cable that goes into the classroom system conks. Random stuff happens. It's pretty rare. But when it does, I have to then, give a chalk talk, and then I, of course, can't make the recordings. So, but presumably, a vast majority of them will be made. They're all on my YouTube channel. Y'all apparently all know where that is because I sent you an email about it last time. But just as a reminder, right here on the web page where it says PreLecture Recordings. Right there, YouTube channel. Takes you right to it. You're going to go to Playlists and find the one called Math 216 Pre-Lectures. And here they are. So everything's organized by playlists, and I think y'all won't have any trouble. Once we get past the flipped portion, we will get into the traditional portion of the course. I'll have another playlist for the class meeting lectures recordings for there. So here, for example, is the playlist that I just created for my Math 212 class, first lecture of which was this morning. So like this one, there will be a Math 216 2020 spring playlist. Okay. So I encourage you to make a lot of use of the recordings. I think they're a really great tool. The pre-lectures have the nice feature that, well, they're just right there, right? You can watch them at whatever pace you feel like. It's your first time through the material. Take your time. Right? So if you're watching along and you start to feel yourself kind of losing grip on what is he talking about, hit the pause button. Give yourself some time to think about it. Pull out the lecture notes. Maybe work out in a little example or something. Ask yourself, wait a second, why am I having trouble with this? Oh, he keeps using that word. He keeps saying linear transformation. I don't think I know maybe I should look up what a linear transformation is. Take your time, look it up, right? Get comfortable with that idea, then go back to the recording. Right? So don't just watch it the way you'd watch a TV program, right? Watch it in chunks. Make sure that you get it as you go along. It's also a great way to study as you go through the course. Any topic that, after a given day in class or whatever, you feel like, maybe I didn't understand that as well as I thought I did, go back. Watch that part of the lecture again. You don't have to watch the whole thing. Go right to the part that you had a problem with. Great way to study for exams. Great way to get help while you're doing the homework. After all, a homework question might be somewhat related to examples that I did in the lectures. Okay. By the way, this was a student-sourced idea right here to annotate your lecture notes with timestamps. I think this is a really good idea. So, for example, as you're going through a lecture, and let's say you get to this part here, and maybe I don't understand what he means by definitions or chosen. What is that? So you can just annotate. If you have a physical copy, you could do it with a pen. If you have an electronic copy, you do it with your whatever you're annotating with. And then notice what time it is. So you can see right here in the corner, if this were a lecture, you see it says 2:08. So then in your copy of the notes, just write 2:08. Oh, gosh. Yeah. And next time you're looking at that part of the notes, that tells you exactly where to go to find that part of the lecture in the video. Okay. All right. All right. Pause again for questions. Anybody? How are we doing? Okay. Okay, so attendance does count as part of your grade. Not very much, a little bit. For the first half of the class, during the flipped portion of the class, I'm not actually going to take attendance. The way that attendance counts toward your grade in the first half of the class is that being physically present is your opportunity to take the quiz. Right? So the quiz, in effect, does that job for me. In the second half of the class, when there's no pre-lectures, it's not flipped, no pre-lectures, therefore no quizzes, that's when we start taking what I'll call attendance, and that's the attendance that will count toward your grade. There's too many of y'all for me to actually sit here and call names. It'd take forever, right? So what I do is I'm going to write on the board over there at a place that's visible for all. I'm going to write down something called an attendance code. It'll be like a 3-digit number or something. And then you just, during class, go to Sakai and take the quiz. The quiz will say, what's the attendance code? Right? And so that 3-digit number that will be on the board. It will be the answer to that question. You enter it. Off you go. You have officially been checked for attendance. Okay. And we've already talked about all of that stuff there. So pausing again for questions. Anybody? By the way, I'm aware that there are hacks around the attendance quiz system. And that's, of course, cheating. And absolutely not worth the risk. You'd be surprised how easy it is to catch students doing that. And it's not worth the risk. I mean, y'all have heard all about the Duke Community Standard. You know that there's very stiff penalties for that kind of thing. So the microscopic amount that attendance counts is completely dwarfed by the potential risks. So anyway, for your consideration. Okay, let's see here. So we're running out of things to talk about. That's actually kind of nice. I will point out that I'm a big fan of study groups. I encourage you all to find a study group to work with. If you already know people in the class that you want to work with, cool. So organize yourselves. I'm not going to have any part of that. But some of you might not know anyone in the class that you want to work with. In which case, if you're in the market for a study group, send me an email. I will add you to the study group email list. Students that are on the study group email list will be notified of the contact information of all the other students on the email list. Only students that are on the email list will get the contact information of students on the email list. This is a very low-tech 1990s kind of solution, but it actually works pretty well. Anyway, all you got to do is send me an email, and you'll have students that you can contact and try to make a group. Y'all have to organize yourselves. I'm not going to set groups or times or anything of that sort. So this is just a way to put people in contact with other people. So send me an email if you're interested. Okay, how are we doing? Questions? Everybody happy? Okay, well, so the first quiz is today. I've already got it set to start at 2:25. I wanted it to be the last 5 minutes of class. So we've got another 12 minutes. I guess I will show you one neat thing. Wasn't sure I'd have time for this, but I will while we're here. So that's Wolfram Alpha. I'm not endorsing your using of Wolfram Alpha. I mostly just want to point out that it exists. Part of the reason I want to point out that it exists is that this helps motivate why it is that we set the bar so high in this class. Right? So why this class is not and should not be memorize and regurgitate. Learn how to do the algorithms. You crank through, and I see. This is one of the questions where I do the following process: crank, answer. Right. The reason why is Wolfram Alpha can do that. Right. Any situation, if mathematically what you bring to a context is that you can execute algorithms, right? Then you can't do anything that Wolfram Alpha can't do. Right? Wolfram Alpha is amazingly capable. Right? You don't even have to know special syntax to be able to do it. Right? So you can type in integral of x times the sine of x squared. Now that's just very sort of like English. Right? I don't know anything about the syntax, and hit return, and it parses the question and gives you the answer. And I believe that if you are willing to pay them like $5 a month or something, it'll show you step-by-step solutions. Right? So what do we bring to the table then? Right? Why should a company hire one of us? Right? And if it's that we're really good at doing integrals, then that's not. I mean, they got that covered. Right? So what we need is to make y'all into students that can do things that Wolfram Alpha can't do, and that Wolfram Alpha is not expected to be able to do anytime soon. And that is to understand something Right? Wolfram Alpha doesn't understand squat. Right? And Wolfram Alpha, likewise other computers, can't and are not expected any time that I'm aware of, I can imagine, to be able to take ideas that they understand, look at a completely unfamiliar situation, and be able to see how to take that unfamiliar situation, break it down, realize how these ideas over here have a lot to do with how this problem is organized, and adapt the ideas as needed, and therefore be able to solve an unfamiliar problem. Right? So computers can't do that. So that's where you all have the opportunity to be valuable mathematically. So anyway, I think that's an interesting thing to think about, and it's the situation that we're in. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Oh yeah. Here, while I'm here, we've got a few minutes. Let me show you all the Sakai site. Here's the Sakai site. When it's time to take the quiz, which will be in a few minutes, click there on the tests and quizzes section. I'm viewing this as an instructor at the moment, so let me change my identity. This is what it'll look like to y'all as students. And right now, the only quiz that is visible is this thing I put up here called Free Experimental Quiz. The idea is I wanted y'all to be able to have a chance to kind of click around and make sure that you know the mechanics, that you're familiar with the mechanics of how to actually do a quiz. Right? So, free experimental quiz, you can take as many times as you want, unlike the graded quizzes, right? Which you can only take once. And the grade for a free experimental quiz will go into the Sakai gradebook, but it will not count in any way toward your course grade. So you can take this quiz. You just click on it here, and let's see here, begin assessment. And here you go. The answer to life, the universe, and everything is. And you got to enter your answer. Notice this is just a practice quiz for mechanics purposes. I tell you the answer is 42. Obscure reference. And let's see here. Now, let me admit, it's been a while since I've done this, so I have to admit, I don't remember. Am I supposed to hit save, or am I supposed to hit submit? Do I have to hit save before I hit submit for grading? Let's just click submit for grading. Let's see what happens. Now I've got to click it again. Look at that. Okay, don't forget to hit submit for grading a second time. And it looks like it went through. I continue. Okay. So anyway, click around, right? Make sure that you see how that works. Pause again for questions. Okay. Yes.
For all the quizzes will be on Sakai then?
Yes. All the quizzes will be on Sakai, so you have to come to class with something that will reliably give you Sakai access. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. Okay. So let's see here. I do have to get this thing set up. This should be quick. No, I don't, because I didn't print out the thing. Sorry. So let's see here. Before I get to the next thing, let me mention one other thing. So the quizzes count for a certain fraction of your grade. Small fraction, but non-trivial. Again, the big idea of the quizzes is to make sure that students come to class prepared. I want to make sure students have actually watched the videos, have actually studied, thought about the content of the videos, so that you'll be maximum possible prepared to interact, do the things that we're going to do in class and get the most out of it. That said, there is a logistical annoyance, and that is, some people have their flights delayed because of weather and won't make it into class today. Somebody might not join the class until Monday. They have a perfect legal right to do that. I can't penalize them for that. And basically, for the first week of classes, there's just a lot of upheaval with the class roster, and it's acute pain. So with that in mind, until the class roster is finalized, in other words, until the end of the first week, I guess until wait lists are erased, whatever that is. I think it's next Wednesday, a week from today. Quizzes will not count toward your grade. Okay? So today's quiz does not count toward your grade. Friday's quiz does not count toward your grade, and Monday's quiz does not count toward your grade. I'm not sure when on Wednesday the wait lists are raised. Depending on that, Wednesdays may or may not. Okay. So anyway, today's doesn't count. So if you run into some sort of technical difficulty, like, oh, I brought my phone and I thought I'd have access, but it's not working, or I don't know, whatever it might be, my laptop's something technical doesn't work and I need to get it fixed. Whatever the case may be, today's quiz won't count. So in fact, it doesn't matter. Okay. All right. So let's see here. The quiz. We got another 5 minutes here. Correction, 4 minutes. Let me just pop up the quiz and make sure that I have it ready to go. Bring class notes. Okay. So we have 4 minutes. Does anybody have any questions? Oh yeah, please.
For the actual quizzes, are we going to get scratch paper to give you?
Oh, so there's a lot of sort of honor code stuff there. So I mean, if you want to have blank scratch paper, that's fine. But just to be clear, the quizzes are closed book, closed notes, right? So you can't. I mean, I understand that you're going to have your laptops open, right? And I understand that my lecture notes are digital and that you therefore have them on your laptop, right? But the honor system, you're not allowed to look at your notes during the quizzes. But if you want blank paper, it's totally fine. If you want to use your laptops with a stylus to do your scratch work instead of a piece of paper, also fine. Obviously no comparing notes, no working together as a team on the quizzes, right? It's a testing environment. And related to that, another big point, and please work with me on this. The quizzes are, not today, right? Because it doesn't count for the quiz. But quizzes are part of your grade. And so during quiz time, it's exam conditions, right? So I understand that it can be a little bit frustrating. Some students are like, yeah, but it was an easy question. I finished that question in a minute and a half. So I got to sit here for 3.5 minutes, and I want to tell a funny story to my friend who's sitting right here, and he's done with the quiz too. We're both done. Why can't I tell him a funny story? It's because we're right in the middle of an exam, and just give it the 3.5 minutes, whatever it is, right? And you'll have time after. Okay. So, all right. Any other questions? We've got 2 minutes before the quiz starts. Yeah.
Are you going to drop our lowest homework assignment?
Yes. Lowest homework score is dropped before computing the homework average. Absolutely. And I think that certainly should be on the website somewhere. I think it is. Yeah. Anybody else?
Yep. And to be clear, when you say lowest homework assignment, you don't mean per unit. You mean like the whole. Like I know, 3 sections might be on a certain Friday. So you mean
yeah. So when I say a homework assignment, I mean a homework set. A homework set is a week's worth of questions, and how many book sections that might be doesn't really matter. Homework sets are the things that are graded. So each homework set, be it 1 section's worth of material or 5 sections worth of material, each set is worth 50 points. So graded out of 50, and they're all the same weights. Yeah. Anybody else? Let's see. You have a minute 20. Yeah.
The quiz, you can take the quiz.
Did it show up already?
Yeah.
Whoops. Is that right? Let's see here. Well, the free experimental quiz, yeah. But are you telling me that?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, the free experimental quiz is going to be available for the rest of the semester. Yeah, that's right. No, but so what y'all are going to be looking for in about a minute, about 45 seconds, is this. It's going to be called Today's Date -01, and it'll show up in just a minute here. So, by the way, I made the question for today non-trivial. Keep in mind, all the quizzes will. The purpose of the quiz is to give you motivation. It's to check that you watch the videos, but also to give you motivation to really be actively thinking about and studying the videos. So the question here is not a freebie. And here it is. There you go. And the quiz should be available on the Sakai Test and Quizzes page there. So exam conditions at this point. So no talking, no looking at your notes at this point. So notice that there are 11 candidate values of n. I want to know how many of those 11, etc. So your answer is an integer somewhere between 0 and 11. Real quick, let me just observe, going forward, the quizzes will be for the first 5 minutes of class. We're doing the last 5 minutes only today just because I wanted to give context. But going forward, it'll be the first 5 minutes of class. So make sure to be on time. Oh, and if you're done with the quiz and if you want to take off, you're very welcome to go ahead and we're done for today. Yeah. Hey, what's up?
I just want to introduce myself. My name's Kevin.
Yeah. Hey.
And I also wanted to talk about. I'm also a freshman, computer engineer.
Yeah. Great. Yeah.
And I also wanted to talk to you about like potential problems that might happen over the semester. So I actually have that.
I just made we're recording right now. So let me stop the recording. Super quick. Well. You know what? I can't stop the recording because I need the screen for the quiz. So let's go sit over here. Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay, so just FYI, you've got about 10 seconds left. You want to get those answers in. If you want to see the scores on the grade sheet. So do me a favor, they're all Fridays. Send me notes for those Fridays, and I'll use your quizzes and your tests. Oh, yeah. Strong advice. Yeah, right. So there was a student last. Let me hit the record button or turn off the recording here.
Just a second.